In Israel ahead of the opening tomorrow of the United States' new embassy in Jerusalem. The decision by the US to move its embassy from Tel Aviv has delighted Israel and infuriated Palestinians. Today, there were clashes in Jerusalem's old city between Israeli policemen and Palestinians. Well, the embassy move is the most tangible result so far of US President Donald Trump's decision last December to break with decades of US policy and recognize Jerusalem as the capital of Israel. Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu welcomed the move. Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas called it a slap in the face and said the US can no longer be regarded as an honest broker in any peace talks with Israel. An interim embassy with a small staff will operate until a larger site is found, but the location is controversial. The compound cuts across the 1949 Armistice Line, which has been separating West Jerusalem from no man's land. Israel captured this land in the 1967-day war and has held under occupation ever since. Well, joining us on the line to look at this developing story is Naim Gina from the Johannesburg-based political think tank Afro-Middle East Center. Very good evening to you. Thank you very much for joining us this evening. Firstly, the decision by the US to move its embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem has angered Palestinians. Why was it necessary?
Why was it necessary for the Americans to move the embassy?
Yes.
Well, it wasn't necessary. I mean, the move of the embassy to Jerusalem is firstly a violation of international law, because in terms of international law, Jerusalem is not the property of Israel. Jerusalem should be, at the very least, internationally controlled territory. Israel occupied Jerusalem in 1967 and then illegally annexed it in 1981. So from that perspective, and that's why, virtually every embassy in the world is in Tel Aviv and not in Jerusalem. So it certainly is not necessary for the U.S. to move the embassy. Why did Trump feel it necessary to move the embassy? Because that's the kind of promise that he made to his constituency when he was campaigning. And his constituency in the main is pro-Israeli, right-wing Christians. And so he's playing to that gallery, and of course his Middle East policy is dictated to a large extent by his son-in-law, who is himself very pro-Israel.
Let's go back a bit and talk about the Jerusalem Embassy Act of 1995. The relocation of the U.S. Embassy has actually been on the cards long before President Trump came into office.
Yes. So Congress passed that law about moving the embassy, and that was part of placating the pro-Israeli lobby in the U.S. But every single president since then, since 1995, has ensured that the embassy doesn't move and doesn't sign the move of the embassy to Jerusalem. So it has been expected in general that presidents will not follow through on that decision because it is a violation of international law. With Trump, of course, he was determined that he would.
Yeah, and what brought about that act in the first place?
Sorry, say again?
What brought about this act in the very first place?
Well, in the main, it's the strength of the pro-Israel lobby in the United States. It's a very strong lobby, very influential politically, support politicians from both major parties, Republicans and Democrats, in order to push through a pro-Israeli agenda. And from the 1970s, that lobby has grown stronger and stronger. And so they have particularly strong influence in the Congress, among members of Congress. And that was what influenced the decision.
Yeah, well, Israel regards Jerusalem as its eternal and undivided capital, while the Palestinians claim East Jerusalem. Where do events tomorrow leave the dispute?
Where events tomorrow leave the dispute is that we have a situation now where the major superpower in the world, the United States, is recognizing Israel's illegal annexation of Jerusalem and Israel's illegal claim in terms of international law of Jerusalem being its capital. So at a legal level, that's where that is. At a political level, what it does is it says to the Palestinians that they have no right to Jerusalem. This city that has been Palestinian forever and has been taken over by the Israeli state, saying to Palestinians they have no right to Jerusalem, and saying to them that if there is any resolution of the occupation of Palestinian territory, that basically Palestinians will not be able to locate their capital in Jerusalem, because it is now the capital of Israel. Yeah. And so it creates new facts on the ground in terms of any kind of solution moving forward in terms of the Palestinian-Israeli.
Of course, Netanyahu has welcomed the move, and Abbas has called it a slap in the face. And then we've also heard of all those clashes that have been taking place all throughout the day upon that move tomorrow. However, Trump does say that his administration is busy with talks to create peace or move forward in peace. What essentially would he probably bring to the table?
Well, he's not busy with talks. I mean, he certainly isn't busy with talks with Palestinians. No Palestinians are talking to him. Even if he wanted to talk to them, no Palestinians want to talk to him after his decision to move the embassy and after tomorrow, of course. So his talks that he is busy with is mainly with the Israelis and also with, for example, the Saudis, who are supporting the Israelis now. And what they want to do is arrive at a settlement which they will then simply impose on Palestinians without consulting the Palestinians at all. It would be most likely a settlement that gives the Israelis what they want. So it won't be creating a Palestinian state. It will be creating a Bantustan, or formalizing a Bantustan, where Israel will have control over the territory of that Bantustan in terms of the land and who controls the land. It will have control over all its borders. It will have control over its airspace. It will have control over the water and any other wealth beneath the ground. It will have control over the coast of Gaza, which includes the gas deposits there. So basically, it will be a kind of state in name only, but will have no sovereignty and frankly, no viability. This is the state that Netanyahu has been talking about, and all indications are that this is the so-called state that Trump will announce as part of his grand deal. And of course, Palestinians, as I say, have not been consulted, and the objective of the United States, of Trump, is to impose this on the Palestinians.
Definitely. We thank you very much for your time this evening. That was Naeem Jina from the Johannesburg-based political think tank Afro-Middle East Center upon that move that we are expected tomorrow of the US Embassy. Having a look now at some other international news.